G'day, it's Robbie again. Well, we're in winter in South Australia and there's not a lot you can do, it's so damn cold. But I have got a small project that I've dragged out that I'll show you what I'm doing. And it's an old multimeter that I picked up years ago. It's a nice old multimeter, and it's, I think I paid $5 for it at a garage sale. That's how good my memory is. Nothing wrong, it works fine. The only thing wrong with it is that the back, which goes on, the screw holes are all busted out. I tried gluing them, but it didn't really work very well. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to make up some screws that will basically go through and have a bigger head, so they'll bear outside of the hole area. But of course, to do that, it puts a bit of a challenge up because the original screws are little 3mm thread, things like that. And because I haven't got anything in all my millions of screws that is 3mm, that is long enough to put a washer under the head to sort of do the job. So I'm going to have to reduce a bigger bolt, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a couple of gutter bolts. These are nice roundy headed ones. They'd sit pretty flush. So what I'm going to do is I've got to reduce these quarter gutter bolts down to 3mm, and then cut a 3mm thread. It's metric 3mm on the end, so that it will go through here and then screw into these little points here and here. So that's today's job. And as you can guess, trying to machine a thread on the end of a bolt like that and grip it and do it all unsupported without bending anything is going to be a little bit tricky, but it's not as hard as it looks, and I'll show you how I'm going to do it. Hang in there. Okay, so how are we going to hold this bolt in the lathe and machine the end of it? Well, obviously 3-jaw chuck's no good. You can get away with it by drilling, making up a holder for it, where the bolt would go through the centre of something which is slit, and then you could clamp it up, squash onto it, but that's an epoxy way of doing it. So for accuracy, we'll be using one of my favourite gizmos, and I'll show you what it is. So what we'll be using is collet, which is just a Morse collet chuck that goes in the spindle and the drawbar, and that'll hold the little bolt, no problem whatsoever. We pick out a collet the right size. That one will do. So now you're thinking, how is he going to hold a bolt like that in a collet like that? Well, it's a simple solution. You push it in through from the back, like that. There's a recess in the back of these things, so enable you to do bolts and gives you a bit of clearance. Click it in. And now we just do up the collet. Right, so all we need to do now is machine it. So how are we going to machine it? Well, we're going to not use a cutter. I mean, if you were to try and use any sort of cutter on that unsupported, remember we're going down to 3mm, so you can't use a dead centre on it. Be pretty tricky to try and do that. So how are you going to machine that? Well, we're not going to machine it with a cutter, we're going to grind it. So I'll be using my tool post grinder on this to reduce it back to 3mm. I've got a proper full-size tool post grinder which I'll be using. I could use my little air grinder, that would do it. It would get there, be slower admittedly, but it would get there. And you can see videos of my tool post mounted little pencil head eye grinder in other videos I've done. But for today we're going to use my old $100 X flea market wall down tool post grinder. This is where it's handy to have a PowerPoint mounted on the lathe, so you don't have to run extension cords around the workshop just to run your tool post grinder. And there she is mounted on there. You can see I've got it angled to give myself clearance. And I'm just using just a friction disc. I'm not using a stone. We just do this with a friction disc. That'll be plenty good enough. We'll put our lathe on a fine feed, and we'll just feed it in right up to the collar, and that should do the job. We'll just grind it back to 3mm diameter, check it with a micrometer, and then we'll just tap a thread on it. These things are very noisy, so it's always goggles, earmuffs when you're working on these jobs. Just do this with a handheld tap. So small, if you try and do it in the tailstock, it might snap it. There we go. Once again, the collet holds the bolt securely, it won't turn. So collets are a great idea, great system. It's certainly a great addition to your lathe. Okay, job done. Now what we're going to do is cut it to length, and if it works out, which it should, we'll do the other one. Well, there you go. Looks the business, should do the job. Well, it sounds like the doves are all out at the moment, so you've got a bit of bird noise in the background, but if we look at our 2 bolts we made up. There we are. Perfect job. And if you look at the length of the case, you see they go through. It's just a matter now of making them the right length to fit the gizmo, and she'll be as good as new again. I like these old analogue ones. They're beautifully made. You know, the digital ones are pretty boring. Some of the old stuff's really nice. Okay, we'll put it back together. One side done. Coming up good. So there you have it. The old multimeter lives to fight another day. Job turned out pretty good. Not bad. It's certainly doing the job anyway. And all it took was a little bit of time, cheap Chinese lathe, and the grinder. But, as I said, there's other ways to do this, and that's just one. Alright, well I hope you found it interesting, give you a few ideas on things, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.